berry growers are having a pretty tough time of it. So much so, they're warning that the future supply of berries in the UK could even be at risk.
BBC recently did a report on the many difficulties that British growers, berry growers, actually in this report are facing right now. But the BBC forgot to mention one very vital component of why growers are having such a tough time, and that's Brexit. Yes, the weather has been challenging. Yes, the Ukraine war and COVID have delivered inflation. But the problem that we still have is because of Brexit. Brexit removed farming subsidies, food subsidies. It also opened the door to lower standard imports, which impacts some sectors of farming. And it also removed freedom of movement, and that has had a massive impact on our fruit and vegetable growers. And as you'll see in this report, it means that in the future we might not be able to get the amount of berries and soft fruits that we have enjoyed for many years in Britain, particularly strawberries, raspberries and blueberries, which is a terrible shame.
Many of them could soon be out of business because of rising costs, terrible weather and a shortage of workers.
Ben is on a farm in
Come
Kent.
to the farm to talk about the pressures on berry growers. Take a look at the scale of this farm here in Kent, just near the Dartford crossing. You can see these massive polytunnels, which are a modern way of growing the berries. It means that the growing season can go on for longer. It also protects the fruit from a lot of the heavy rain that we've had, particularly at the start of the summer. And it's all about maximising the return on the investment that the farmers have made in the crops and growing them, because berry growers are having a pretty tough time of it. So much so, they're warning that the future supply of berries in the UK could even be at risk. And it's surprising when you realise that we spent £1.87 billion on berries, so strawberries, blackberries, raspberries, blueberries, in the UK last year. And yet, half of berry growers, half of the farmers say they don't make a profit. The Berry Growers Association says that means 4 out of 10 berry growers could go out of business by 2026. The reason being that costs have risen since 2020. The cost of fertiliser, labour, packaging, transport, it's all gone up. So much so that growing a tonne of raspberries now costs about £2,000 more than it did to grow a tonne of raspberries just 4 years ago. So where does that leave the industry? We can get an overview now as we chat to Nick from the British Berry Growers, and there we go. There he is, in among the blackberry bushes. Nick, good to see you. What's the industry doing to cope with these pressures? How dire a situation is it?
It's really difficult for all growers now. Their costs have increased by around 30% over 3 years, and at the moment we've seen fairly scant recovery of that in terms of farm gate price increases. If we look at the retail selling price of, for instance, strawberries, Kantar market data shows the average price per kilo increasing by 14% from 2021 to 23. Grower returns increased, according to our survey, over the same period by 4%. So, at the moment we're seeing that modest inflation not being reflected in farm gate prices at all.
Okay, so what would help?
What would help? Well, first of all, of course, is retailers is an initial fair share of any inflation that there is. We understand the concerns and the fact that nobody wants to see food price inflation, but there has to be some, and there has been across the whole marketplace. The second thing really is a conversation between growers and retailers, and this is as much for growers as retailers, about the cost of production and how growers remain sustainable. Government, there's a lot the government could do. If we look at the seasonal workers scheme, visa workers are essential to this industry, so we'd like to see surety, a 5-year rolling scheme to allow investment. We'd like to see a 9-month visa length that improves productivity, reduces growers' recruitment costs, and actually is great for the workers themselves because it enhances their earning opportunity.
The government says there is a review of migrant workers' visas in place. It's concluded in July. It will assess that and make a decision. We don't quite know when. Are you hopeful that that could help some berry growers survive?
I would hope that we will see positive action from the government in a number of areas. You know, the government has said it wants to improve self-sufficiency, and yeah, we want immediate action and immediate answers. That's absolutely critical, whether that's on the visa workers scheme or whether it's actually on support for innovation and productivity, which are also key to the industry's survival.
Does it matter if we end up importing berries? We import so much other food. What difference would it make if we ended up importing berries as well?
There is nowhere to go for the volumes of berries that the UK consumes. If we look at strawberries, raspberries and blackberries, we're pretty well 100% self-sufficient right the way from the end of April until October. That volume is just not produced in Holland, Belgium, Germany, so the old adage that you can just go buy it somewhere else if we can't produce it in the UK isn't true. There will be no berries on the shelves for customers to enjoy, and that would be a great tragedy. Berries are also a big product for retailers. It's the biggest SKU in store, strawberries, in June and July for most retailers, so they wouldn't want to lose that. And actually, the UK diet really wouldn't want to lose fresh berries. It's a great alternative, and there would be no replacement. We'd have tropical fruits, southern hemisphere apples that are shipped right the way around the world, or bananas.
Yeah, and there's an environmental impact of that as well.
Absolutely.
With the air miles and the emissions used to transport them. Nick, thank you very much. Really good to have your thoughts and an overview of the industry here on the farm this morning.
It is without doubt that if this new Labour government decide, and they appear to have made that decision, to continue with the Brexit plan and the Brexit trade deals, it means that altogether there will be an awful lot less British food, and it will only really be the very wealthy who will be able to afford good quality British food, whereas when we were in the European Union, it was affordable by and available to everybody. The Labour government made promises to reduce the Brexit trade barriers, but now they seem to be making noises about continuing with the CPTPP, which ensures we have to continue with the trade barriers, because those trade barriers are about protecting the single market from lower standard foods. It's not rocket science, but they seem to have trouble in working this out. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe, comment below, let me know what you think.